Now, I always make sure I tell people that I had no special training, because when they finish hearing my story, oftentimes a thought that comes to them is, wow, you must be an expert. You must have had special training. I could never do what you do. I'm too stupid. But that's not true. Yes, we all go into caregiving not knowing everything we ought to know or we'd like to know, but we can all learn. It doesn't require a genius mind to learn how to be a caregiver. What it really requires is a heart to care for someone, a heart to love them. So if you love the person whom you're going to take care of, you have the fundamental building block you need to become as good a caregiver as I was. Now obviously, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and if you have a bad heart or a bad back or bad knees, there's some things physically you can't do that I could do. But if you have a sound body and a sound mind, you can do all the things I did if you're willing to learn. But as a caregiver, we need to escape the mentality that thinks, this is so important, I'll go the extra mile, I'll be Superman or Superwoman, I'll do everything. No, none of us can do everything. And we all need to go into caregiving recognizing our own personal weaknesses and our own personal strengths. For me, my big weakness was inexperience. I was 24. I'd never been married. I'd never had kids. I'd never taken care of anyone like that before in my life. I was green as the greenest grass. And so I would have so many things I had to learn in that journey. It was a big weakness. But I had strengths to help me deal with those weaknesses. And my biggest strength was my patience. Alzheimer's is a disease that requires a lot of patience. And I had a lot of it. Sometimes it stretched to the limit. Sometimes I kind of ran out of patience, but I had a lot to help me get through all that learning and all those hard days. But on top of that, I had some other strengths as well. I had a very easygoing nature. And by that I mean, Alzheimer's has a lot of quirks that can be very frustrating. Just little things that can drive us crazy. Like the person with Alzheimer's might decide they need to fix the couch by taking all the cushions off the couch. Or they might be eating supper and decide they need to throw every third spoonful of food on the floor. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's just what they got to do. Or else they might decide they need to empty all the drawers out in the kitchen. Or any number of things. And it's not exactly the end of the world, but if you like to keep a very neat house, it can be really frustrating. But for me, it's like, he wants to take the cushions off the couch. That's all right, I can put them back on later. I'll be throwing food on the floor. I can clean it up later. It's no big deal. I could shrug off those minor irritations without them stacking up to become something that I couldn't stand anymore. So for me, that was something I could cope with very easily. For you, if you keep a neat house, you need to be aware that's a particular weakness you'll have to deal with and not be surprised when it comes up for you. Now, a third strength that I had that helped a lot was that I had a very quirky sense of humor. And Alzheimer's is a very quirky disease. And the saying is very true, that either you can laugh or you can cry, and it is far more healthier to laugh. And I can tell you the things I could laugh at helped a lot. Now, to kind of illustrate this, I'm going to share with you my first excerpt from my book about humor. Most of the time, I had a pretty good sense of humor. Faced with Grandpa's many problems, there was always the temptation to become frustrated or angry. Humor was my antidote. Imperfect though it was, it meant surviving in at least somewhat healthy state of mind. If I just forgot for a moment what everything meant, a lot of it was really funny in an absurd sort of way. If I could see cause for a good-natured laugh, kindness and patience came easier. If I could see the silliness when Grandpa put a tissue box on his foot instead of a shoe, then I could avoid becoming exasperated that he didn't know how to put on his shoes. I could either get mad when Grandpa came walking down the hall without any pants on, or I could fetch a pair of pants and ask him, like a salesman, if he was interested in this fine pair of pants that I had. If I became mad and lectured him about not wearing pants, he would become humiliated or angry. But if I, in good humor, suggested I had a fine pair of pants he might be interested in, he might stop a moment and say, gee, he supposed he could use a pair of pants. Now, things like that would come up all the time. Sometimes it would be multiple times in one day when Grandpa would take his pants off. And it's very easy to become frustrated with that. It's like, I helped you put your pants on 2 times today already. Why are you taking them off again? That could come out of your mouth pretty easily. But if instead you kind of made a joke and a little game out of it, and you could have a little laugh at the absurdity of life, then you could get through it without becoming frustrated. It might not be just pants. It might be his coffee or lunch or something else he was struggling with. So humor allowed me to laugh at the little things in life that could be frustrating but didn't have to be.